Close Encounters of the Third Kind doesn't play like a normal alien movie. It feels like a quiet obsession that starts as a flicker, then slowly takes over your entire life. One ordinary man sees something once, and suddenly the universe moves into his kitchen, into his dreams, into his hands, into a mountain he cannot stop building. But behind the wonder, the hush, the strange feeling of being chosen, this film had a very strange road to survival. Steven Spielberg's first alien ideas were chaos, the kind that could have shattered the spell completely. The ending you remember is only one path this movie took, and the lead role demanded a man willing to break emotionally, which is exactly why the toughest names in Hollywood kept slipping away. These are 10 weird facts about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the movie that didn't just show aliens, it made people feel watched. Number 1. Before Close Encounters became the calm, almost holy first contact movie people remember, Spielberg's early alien plan was a mess. Not in a bad way, but in a desperate one. It felt like he knew one wrong choice could turn wonder into a Halloween costume. His biggest rule was simple. The visitors could not walk like humans. He wanted them to glide, to move like gravity was optional. So the crew chased one of the strangest solutions imaginable, an orangutan wearing an alien head while standing on roller skates. They actually tested it, and the test ended exactly the way your brain hopes it would. The orangutan ripped the skates and headgear off, panicked, and bolted back to its handler like it was escaping a nightmare. Then came the ship designs. Some early UFO concepts leaned into bold shapes that were supposed to feel iconic, until one of them started looking suspiciously like the McDonald's golden arches floating in the sky. Not mysterious, not cosmic, just a giant brand logo with headlights. That idea died quickly, because once your spaceship looks like advertising, the magic is gone. So Close Encounters didn't start with wonder. It started with experiments that almost turned it into a punchline, and that's when Spielberg had to find a version of aliens the camera could actually believe. Number 2. A UFO movie cannot ask audiences to believe in lights in the sky if the human world underneath feels fake. Spielberg understood that immediately. So before worrying about aliens, he built a reality that felt almost documentary-level real. He went hunting for credibility like it was a special effect. He brought in J. Allen Hynek, the famous ufologist whose classification system literally coined the term close encounter. Not to make the story crazier, but to make the language sound correct. Hynek didn't stay behind the curtain either. Spielberg placed him on screen in the film itself, like a quiet signature telling the audience the movie understood the real world it was borrowing from. Then the pushback arrived. NASA didn't simply shrug at the script. They actually sent a warning letter, a long official, "maybe don't do this." Spielberg later said receiving that response didn't scare him, it energized him. Because if a space agency takes your movie seriously enough to write a report about it, you're no longer just making fantasy, you're poking something sensitive. That realism even reached scenes most viewers never think about. Those air traffic control sequences sound real because they were. Spielberg used actual controllers from the LA RTCC facility in Palmdale, letting their natural cadence and pressure drive the dialogue. So before the mothership ever arrives, the story already feels logged, reported, and overheard on a real radio frequency. Number 3. Before the aliens, before Devil's Tower, before the famous 5-note musical signal became pop culture history, Spielberg had to win something harder than audiences: permission. His earlier films proved he had the talent. Duel showed he could squeeze terror from pure momentum. The Sugarland Express proved he could hold a feature together. So he tried to launch his UFO project at 20th Century Fox first and got rejected completely. No interest, no confidence. So Spielberg pivoted to Columbia Pictures, where the project finally received a green light. Then development froze. Spielberg had to step away and direct another film first. That film was Jaws. Production on Close Encounters stalled. For a while, the movie floated in that dangerous space where a project exists only as a promise. Early budgets were barely around $2.5 million, which meant the scale of the vision would have to shrink dramatically. But then, Jaws exploded into a cultural phenomenon. Suddenly, Spielberg was no longer a promising young director with a weird UFO script. He was the filmmaker who could create global events. Columbia's attitude changed instantly. The scale expanded. The movie stopped being a risky idea and became a spectacle worth financing. Number 4. The finale of Close Encounters didn't just require imagination, it required enormous physical space. Spielberg wanted the climax to feel real, not like a painted background or a soundstage illusion. He wanted an environment so massive that lights could bloom, smoke could drift, and the camera could stare across an empty runway with no support columns ruining the illusion. The solution appeared in Mobile, Alabama at Brookley Air Force Base. There sat gigantic abandoned World War II airship hangars, roughly 300 feet by 300 feet, with no interior support beams. Not just a location, a weapon. But Alabama came with its own problems: heat, humidity, sudden storms. The film's biggest illusion was being built in a space that refused to behave like a studio. At the same time, the story needed the opposite environment, a fragile family home. So production literally bought a real house at 1613 Carlisle East Drive in Mobile for about $35,000, then modified it for filming, then sold it afterward for roughly $50,000, with the profit returning to the production budget. Close Encounters didn't just use locations, it negotiated with the real world. Number 5. The mothership in Close Encounters looks less like something designed and more like something discovered, like the camera simply caught a floating industrial city in the sky. But that design almost never happened. Early experiments considered computer animation. Effects designer Colin Cantwell even created a small digital test showing ships drifting above a stadium. The problem was time. The shot took weeks to render. The technology was simply too slow and expensive for a full feature. So Spielberg returned to physical effects: miniatures, model kits, train parts, thousands of tiny pieces layered together to create density and texture. The inspiration came from something completely ordinary: an oil refinery glowing at night, pipes, lights, industrial complexity. The result became a flying city, a ship that still feels physical decades later because its light actually bounces off real objects. Number 6. Many viewers remember different endings to Close Encounters, and that's because several exist. The 1977 theatrical release leaned heavily on mystery. Later versions added scenes inside the mothership, revealing things Spielberg originally wanted audiences to imagine. Eventually, the special edition and later director's cut reshaped the film again, meaning people who grew up watching different versions often remember entirely different emotional endings.
Number 7. The movie struggled to find its identity for years. Early titles included Watch the Skies. Later writer Paul Schrader developed a darker script called Kingdom Come, where the main character was a 45-year-old Air Force officer tied to Project Blue Book. Spielberg rejected that version because it felt cold and bureaucratic. He insisted the story follow an ordinary man, someone the audience could project themselves onto. That decision transformed the film into something far more personal. Number 8. Actress Terry Garr originally wanted the role of Gillian, the single mother drawn into the alien mystery. Spielberg had other plans. After seeing her in a coffee commercial, he believed her everyday energy would work better as Ronnie, Roy Neary's wife. Garr even suggested playing both roles, one woman representing the cosmic mystery and the collapsing marriage. Spielberg declined, but Garr ultimately turned Ronnie into one of the most painfully human characters in the film. Number 9. Roy Neary was not a glamorous hero role. The character slowly unravels emotionally. That scared many major stars. Steve McQueen declined because the character cried on screen. Jack Nicholson worried spectacle would overshadow performance. Gene Hackman passed while going through a divorce. Finally, Richard Dreyfuss embraced the role completely, describing Roy as a child trapped inside an adult life, wonder disguised as breakdown. That interpretation convinced Spielberg he had found the right face for the film. Number 10. When Close Encounters opened in November 1977, it exploded at the box office. Produced for about $19 million, it earned roughly $340 million worldwide and became a massive success for Columbia Pictures. During production, Spielberg had a visitor, George Lucas. Lucas was nervous about his upcoming space movie, Star Wars. He believed Close Encounters might actually outperform it. So the two directors made a friendly deal. Each would take 2.5% of the other's movie profits. History picked a winner. Star Wars became one of the biggest films ever made. That small percentage reportedly earned Spielberg more than $40 million. Bonus fact: for the film's emotional farewell scene, Italian effects master Carlo Rambaldi created a fully articulated animatronic alien nicknamed Puck. Built from steel, aluminum, fiberglass, and controlled by a team of puppeteers, the creature could deliver subtle emotional movements. That success planted an idea in Spielberg's mind. What if one alien stayed behind? That question eventually evolved into another movie, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, and Rambaldi returned again to design the creature that would become one of cinema's most beloved characters. That is the quiet pull of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It doesn't scare you into looking up at the sky, it makes you want to. One strange light, one unfinished song, one ordinary life that can never quite fit back where it came from. If you enjoyed these weird facts, hit like and subscribe, then drop a comment and tell me what film we should explore next. Some movies don't just end, they stay on the horizon like a signal you can still hear in the silence.